Again, we're going to have to wait for people to start coming in. We're streaming now.
Right.
And it takes a little bit.
Yeah, we'll let people load up into the stream. And in the meantime, I'll share this page to our Facebook and see if we can get anybody else watching.
Yeah. We'll, Okay, people are in now. One guy said, not a car first. Okay, here we are. This is RCR podcast number 22.
Yes.
I'm Brian.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Ken from Steve Moyer Subaru.
This is the first time we had a dealership work with us. Like, it's only taken 4 years and 500,000 subscribers. Gee, I wonder why no dealership wants anything to do with a poop and fart thing, but...
Well, we're a bit different of a dealership because we're a small local dealer in Leesport, Pennsylvania, which is kind of your backyard. Don't give things away, but...
In the Hamburg area,
Yeah, and we really do enjoy doing some community outreach. And when you brought Goldie here, it was just natural that we wanted to try to follow up, see how you're doing, see how the car is doing, but also get a chance to talk with local people who live in the area. We do a lot of community outreach and a lot of charity events.
Keep talking.
So it's kind of nice when I'm able to get a quasi-YouTube celebrity in the building. You should have seen some of our service people. Well, for those of you on the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're getting complaints about audio levels. Hot mic.
Oh, my mic is hot. Okay. Potting myself down about 20%. Mr. Regular, your audio sounds poor. Hello from Slovenia.
Hello.
I potted myself down a little bit. All mics are too hot.
Huh.
Okay.
Got heat all around.
All right. Potting that down, potting Ken down.
Yes.
All right.
Ken is a little right amount of gains now, a little more. Now they're on a delay.
Right. So
So it's about a 10-second delay. One guy says, live blogging at New York Auto Show. No, we're not at the New York Auto Show.
No.
Hello from Hazleton. Hey, Hazleton. Sounds good. Smokable. Sounds a lot better.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
The sound is working now.
Nice.
I am going to just give a tad down a little bit, down a little bit, down a little bit.
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about all the hot mics.
Yes. Go isotopes.
So
feel free to
tell the story about how you learned that we were local, like the day I came in, because it wasn't initially Subaru related. Well, it was because I was here, but...
Well, you got to keep in mind that you're kind of internet famous.
Oh. Okay.
So go ahead and blush a little bit.
All right.
Your channel is followed by probably about half of our service center, half of our body shop, me.
Really?
And others.
I thought it was just you and the one guy who works the parts desk.
No.
Oh.
Steve Hill's a fan of yours because he thinks that your humor is funny, and also being that this is a family business, you know, poop and pee jokes aren't that bad compared to some of the content that's out there. It's nice that you keep things clean. There's no cursing. We really try to have a very professional family environment here. And so some of what you do on your channel works really well for the way that we present things locally. In fact, if you're able to come out to our car show this October, you'll get a real flavor of sort of the folks who bring their food trucks out, the local ambassador groups, the local enthusiast groups, and how much people bring their kids, pets, and other charities like the Animal Rescue League that we work with. These are all things that we sort of get a kick out of, and to be able to reinvest in our local community is part of why we do it. So guys like you give us an opportunity to have a little broader reach, and it's symbiotic.
Oh,
if you have an opportunity to get more free stuff from Subaru because of this, maybe they'll give you some swag. You never know.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get swag from plenty of places. We're still, well, I mean, I was going to say we're still reaching out to Fiber One, but I haven't really been on the ball with getting Fiber One as I should have been, because I reached out to them and they reached back out to me, and then there was like no follow up on their end.
CVS might hook you up with some free stool softeners.
We're saying Ken is a little bit too quiet. I am going to put Ken on maximum.
Okay, how
Ken,
do I
just
sound,
say something.
everybody? Hello, everybody. How's my mic levels? Do I sound clear?
Ken is on max right now. I wonder if I'm seeing Ken on my microphones. Better? They said that's better.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Okay. All right. So that thing, even without phantom powered, I'm at as high as the board will go.
Cool.
With Ken. I rolled up. What happened was when I realized that I didn't realize it was Moyer's Car Care in Schuylkill Haven. Different Moyer from Steve Moyer Subaru.
There's a lot of them in this area.
It's Pennsylvania. There's a lot of
It's
Moyers.
a common name.
Moyers, Millers.
Yeah. Miller
Stoltz,
Brothers
Fusses.
Construction. Yeah.
Yeah, you were at Bruce's, right? When you did, is that where you discovered the rot in the?
That was at Moyer's Car Care in Schuylkill Haven. Took the car in to get inspected. My Forester failed inspection
Naturally.
because of the rust that I wasn't aware of, and they said, this is pretty bad. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I kind of brushed it off. It's probably nothing. And they said, they quoted me a price. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have Bruce look at it. Yeah. And then I made the video of myself over at Bruce's, and Bruce goes, Brian, I don't want you driving too much on this. And then he showed me the hole in the lower control arm. And I was like, oh, wow.
Ew.
So I was almost ready to junk the car right there, because if this is going to be $1,000 fix, it's a $5,000 car. So I drove my Forester back to my garage, got in the Falcon, because that's my only other working car. And I drove the Falcon here to go look at, okay, let's see what Forester, what do they got in their inventory on a whim in stick shift. And I get in the car with Andy?
Yes. Andy Baylor is one of our brand specialists. He's a sales guy who's just helpful as opposed to cutthroat.
He knew all about the transmissions and stuff like that. I think does he have an STI, or does he have something?
He's running a Crosstrek stick shift right now.
Okay.
He's got plans to make it a Crosstrek STI. We'll see.
Well, people in the comments said this is a really nice table.
It is. It's a wonderful table.
One guy says, the brain specialist says, it's weird how professional this looks.
Well, thank you, Mr. Specialist. We try to keep it real, but also we keep it clean too. It's a nice dealership, and we try to make sure it stays that way.
We are in the conference room of Steve Moore for people just joining us. Yeah. So I drive up in the Falcon. I park it out front, and the Falcon is a good secret weapon when I go to dealerships. That okay, I'm arriving in a classic car. This guy probably knows more than two things, and I never once, later that day, I got the wait right here, we'll be right back.
Really?
Well,
we'll table that.
We won't. I won't call out which place that was, but I will say that I asked a few questions about RAV4s. Okay, and manual transmissions, and the guy told me to wait at his desk, and I didn't. And I just sort of half followed him around, and I see him looking at the trifold pamphlet that you hand to a customer, just trying to figure out if RAV4s come in stick shift.
There's new people at all jobs everywhere. Yeah. Let's cut that guy some slack. He might have been first day.
Okay.
All right, here's a question that I always wanted to ask, and it's only because of the Goldie story that I've heard before. You mentioned how you didn't want to necessarily spend $1,000 on a $5,000 car, and I'm trying to figure out where the cutoff is in terms of. Okay, so Betty, my car cost me $44,000. So
pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You got a Mustang for under $5,000.
Yeah, and that's because I kind of poked him down and got I think I got 150 knocked off, which isn't really, but whatever.
It helps.
Yeah, it's helped. Yeah. And so I forget. Oh, what was wrong with it that first year that I ended up paying $600 to get fixed?
Oh, I don't remember this.
I took it 2 different places, and the cheapest one they were $600 because
was the engine getting hot? Was it that bad?
Yeah. Well, remember I was having the steam and everything shooting up, and
so you need a new radiator.
Gaskets on the
yeah. Well, I mean, it was I gotta pull it. I'm pretty sure it's in my glove box still, just the old workup that I never decided to get rid of because my glove box is full of crap. But thankfully, I don't get pulled over to have to pull out all my stuff. I'm like, oh well, wait, I'm looking for my insurance right now. But
They just assume you don't have any. No.
But it was one of those things of like when I got it, it was kind of this harsh introduction of, well, this is what it's like when you have a car in your own name now, you know, that you're not, because, you know, I've been broke pretty much all my life. And so the idea that I could afford anything that I would want to drive was kind of insane to me. But also the idea that, all right, now there's already something wrong with it. And thankfully, I haven't had any other real problems with it since. Like when it went in for inspection, I had to get a new belt. But other than that, you know.
One of the guys in the chat, what you're describing says likely intake manifold gasket. Like if it's getting hot but not overheating. Well,
it was overheating.
Oh,
yeah, I was having like the thing was all the way over to hot, and I was like, well, why is it? I've literally been driving this thing for 5 minutes, and I remember a friend of mine, his car broke down. He's like, could you give me a jump? And so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get out my jumper cables, and we go to lift the hood, and it's just like, ooh, like just everything coming out. I'm like, okay, I think we were both in trouble here. It was literally like 2 weeks after I got this car.
Oh man,
yeah, but
well, it was like that with Sally. Remember, what's my bit on Sally? Like after I bought it, realizing the previous owner was William Howard Taft.
Oh yeah,
and
just
like the car. It was a 2007 Honda Fit, and the car, for people who are looking this on the chat. The driver's side, you park it on a level parking lot and look at it. The driver's side is a little bit lower. And I'm like, how the hell do you compress springs? Like
this, that's a 400-pound human being
in there. I mean,
did you ever replace the seat, the driver's seat?
What I did was I unzipped it, pulled the cover off, cut up an old boogie board, and shoved it between the springs and the seat, strategically putting lumbar support back in this thing. And that got me through like 3 years with that car.
And when he resold it, it was custom upholstery.
That car leaked water because we found out that there was a lot of that was. The mid-2000s was Honda's senioritis period. Yeah. They were just throwing them together. They had leaking problems. And
Well, if we're going to, let's actually digress a little bit on mid-2000s cars and leaking problems.
Yeah.
And it's not just Hondas, Subarus, Toyotas, and every Japanese car. It was because, and I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments, but porous seam sealer materials manufactured in the late 90s that were the things that the manufacturer said, yes, we'll work with those. And by like 2004, they were having problems with all those mid 90s to late 90s gen cars because the seam sealer wasn't designed to last more than a decade. And so all the manufacturers bought all the seam sealer from like a couple different suppliers. And then everybody's cars that were built in Japan got rust in the wheel wells and rust in all the bodywork because the water just saturated and stayed in the seal rather than flowing out. And it was almost every car company out of Japan in the late 90s and into 2000s started just rotting out. I think it was due to porous seam sealer. But I'm sure somebody in the comments can correct me on that.
Well, it's coming right from the video. Tony at Bruce Hen, who just is no longer working there. He got an offer from Penske. So he's going to go work for Penske.
That's good money.
Yeah.
I can't fault him now.
For people, is Penske nationwide or is that kind of an East Coast? Okay. Yeah. So anyway, my Subaru is the last.
Somebody's got an 06 Volvo S40 and missed it up when it rains. Yeah, check those seals, Will the Plank. That's a pretty easy, inexpensive replacement.
Missed it up inside it rains, like inside the car.
I'm assuming so. Yeah, that'd be door seal gaskets and things like that.
Yeah,
maybe firewall gaskets, little plugs on the inside of the engine bay from moisture getting up. But again, I'm not a service guy. I do marketing here. I'm just a car enthusiast.
Well, you know your stuff because you drive a BRZ.
Yes, and I have one of the little unicorn hyper blue ones.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you guys a short story about my BRZ.
Okay.
I was recently rear-ended.
When?
Not this past Friday, but the Friday before that.
Oh, man.
You know how 61 South goes down towards Reading, but you can take that right onto Route 12?
Yep.
And it's got that really crap yield sign where it's maybe like a 10-foot merge.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching traffic blow by on my left shoulder, waiting for my opportunity to get out. and some guy bumps into me, who was bumped into by another guy, who was bumped into by a fourth guy.
Ugh.
So I get out, we pull over on the shoulder, and I'm just like, everybody okay? Like, I wasn't hit very hard, and I've just got minor scuffs on the bumper, but I promise that there is damage beneath that. Now, I've already worked with my insurance company, all of their insurance companies. Nobody was angry. And the reason I want to bring this up is because this was almost the calmest 4-car pileup I've ever been witness to, and I was part of it. Nobody yelled, nobody pitched a fit, nobody was injured. We all exchanged information, and all 4 cars were drivable away from the scene.
Good.
And so now I'm just following up with it. But this is, in 3 years of owning my BRZ, the 4th insurance claim on it.
Ooh.
Yeah. This car is not worth anything to anybody but me, and that's okay because I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of the Hyper Blues, and it's my baby. And
which sort of brings me back to the question, because I realized I never actually asked the question. Oh, all right, so what's the cutoff? Say I had, like, my car's 4,400. So at what point do you say that's too much? Because you were mentioning how $1,000 on a $5,000 car, might as well junk it. Well,
but what I'm doing in my head is saying, okay.
Thank you, Sam. I'm just looking at the comments.
What did Sam
Blue
say?
Debut at Wicked Big Meat. Yeah, I saw mine. I saw it debut at Boxer Fest, and back in I got one.
Is Hyper Blue a color that they only did for a few years?
It was only available 15 and 16 on the. They did 500 STIs, 500 BRZs, and however many thousand Crosstreks in Hyper Blue, and that was
really.
It. Yeah, and I loved it as a color. It reminded me of things. But Nick had a really useful question about $1,000 on a $5,000 car is literally just timing belt services for. Yeah, so it's an opinion, man. If you ask me, and I have a $150 1998 Subaru Legacy Outback with 350,000 miles on it that won't die, if you asked me to put $1,000 into that, I'd laugh at you.
Yeah.
But if I had a $5,000 car and I adored it, $1,000 might just be the required thing to keep it running that year. Someday my BRZ is going to be completely worthless, and everybody's going to be driving around in electric pods, and I will still spend $1,000 to keep that thing running for a year. I'm pretty sure the average statistic is that most people, between oil changes, tires, and general maintenance on a car, spend between $800 to $1,200 a year on running expenses on the average old car.
Yeah.
And we're talking like 15 plus year old car. We're not talking modern within 5 years.
My counterpoint to that is, okay, with the exception of the Falcon, I'm not very attached to vehicles. I'm like, the daily is a daily is a daily. It's just the thing that I drive around. And what do we got here going on in the chat?
Can't see Mr. Regular's feet. Corey?
Because we're always
Oh yeah, back home,
You guys have the couch set up, yeah.
and I don't wear shoes or socks when I'm at home. So
just
I have wide feet. I can only wear New Balance. Anyway, yeah. With
Would you spend $1,000 to keep the Falcon running for an extra year?
hell yeah, the Falcon is beyond a car now.
Because
it's a person.
Right.
It's anthropomorphized.
that was a month of videos where you like nothing else but Operation Vagabond Falcon.
Yeah.
And that's a whole month of content, and when you factor in the value of what a month of
Oh yeah,
it could be,
our revenue for those months dropped in half.
yeah.
Thanks for sticking it through me, sticking it out with me, just to get that car done.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, would I spend another $1,000? Like, if something happened on the Forester now that it needed another $1,000 worth of work, like the head gasket that's in it now, which hopefully is a good one that they put in. That was done at $100,000. It's $170,000 now.
Should be fine.
It right. Would it go again at $200,000? Would I want to repair that? And the answer is, because in my head, I'm already thinking. Ken and I talked about this before. I had a taste of what the Forester XT is, and a guy let me drive it. Now, this guy had an STI intercooler and Cobb, of course. I forget what tune.
Probably a stage 1 or 2. That's standard.
And this thing moves.
Yeah.
And he said originally, when he did the tune on his Forester, it was faster than his, I think he had like an 06 WRX, and his Forester was faster. Because what, the WRX is a 2-liter.
It is now, but back then it still had the 2.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It wasn't until 14 that they did the 2-liter block.
Oh. Huh. Must have been. He probably did injectors too.
Probably.
Yeah.
And
He did intercooler, injectors, STI turbo or whatever turbo that was using, and then the tune on top of that.
Yeah, once he remaps that, that's an easy extra 60 horsepower to the crank. I mean, and the inside of the engine should be able to handle it mostly.
Yeah.
The thing that usually gets people is when they don't listen to their car. They force the computer to do something that the car doesn't like, and then they just rag on it and things grenade inside, and it doesn't matter what car you have. If you treat it badly, things can break. I've seen too many people with too many nice cars that they don't care about in my lifetime, and I just go, oh, poor car. But, you know, they're still...
Their car, their canvas.
Right, and their cash.
Yeah. This guy, forgive me, I can't forget your name. He was all the way up in Danville. What do we got? After owning an EJ255?
Yeah, it's a 2.5. It's the standard engine that was back in the Legacy GT, so it was also in the... Boy, that was in everything. That was in the Outback, that was in all of them, but Legacy GT, it's not worth keeping unless neediest vehicle, keep it bone stock. Yeah, I mean, I would... Look, if I had a Legacy GT or a old Legacy B-Spec, I'd keep it stock too. They run great. And get an 80s XT. Yeah, good luck finding one of those. That was the 2-door little sports car.
Yeah,
the one that
yeah,
looked like a wedge.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will the Plank makes a good point saying that people forget preventative maintenance all the time.
Yeah. It's like one of the things that this guy told me about the, like there's two, I didn't know that there was 2 versions of the Forester XT within the second generation, and they changed significantly pre-facelift, post-facelift. The pre-facelift one was when Subaru was like, we're gonna have variable valve timing like everybody else. Let's have these little oil tubes. And he told me the big thing was there was these little plastic screens inside the banjo bolts as they went in, and the technical service manual said you're just supposed to throw those out because they get clogged, and then your timing is off, and the variable valve timing doesn't work.
Whoa.
And then that creates not valve float but something else, and that's how the pre-facelift Forester XTs, you have to take those banjo bolts out, and if there's screens in there, throw them away, and then you'll be good. Or you can get the post-facelift ones, which don't have variable valve timing, and that's just how they solve that problem.
That's the one to have, yeah. I would generally avoid the pre-facelift ones just because of that. I mean, they're not bad cars, but keep in mind that if you're trying to modify it or work on it yourself, modern Subarus are so much easier to work on for the average person nowadays, with top-mounted oil filters and everything having, space in the engine bay to get man hands inside instead of having to burn your wrists on an engine manifold going up from underneath.
Yeah.
Late 90s, early 2000s ones.
Let's talk about that, because now Subaru has the World platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a different chassis, and it's similar dimensions, but they removed most of the 90-degree bends. So when you're thinking about structural steel and you smash it into something and it compresses, that force kind of wobbles down it and then has to disperse somewhere. So the less hard angles you have, the less that force wobbles and then goes bang and shoots out into the car and into the occupants. So if you have sweeping curves, it means that force transfers way smoother around the vehicle. It also means that with a high strength steel, like every car manufacturer uses, Subaru included, it's really, really, really rigid. The body roll and twist from a side-to-side aspect has been reduced so much that if it wasn't for the fact that all the wheels have independent suspension with a fair amount of travel to them, you could probably kick a rear tire off the inside back when you're turning on most of the chassis. And with the Crosstrek now being based on that same platform, the 18 Forester, or be the last gen Forester to be based on that platform, it's so much better because they're also planning for space in the future for different drive lines. So you've got a power plant that's petrol or hybrid or electric, it shouldn't make a difference which one you choose in the future, because it's still going to fit in the vehicle, and it's still going to give you real-time all-wheel drive. Because at the end of the day, unless you're the only one that Subaru still uses that planetary differential is the STI. Everything else is a combination of mechanical and computer controls now for the differential. So it's really easy for the car to shunt power around from wheel to wheel. I mean, the new Ascent that's coming out is going to weigh like 6,000 plus pounds, and yet it's going to be able to tow 5,000 pounds and have all of the comfort and everything of a big car, but with little car performance.
Now, forgive me in the comments that I should know what the Ascent is.
7-seater that's coming out in a couple months.
Oh.
The first time that you can actually get a family-sized truck car from Subaru.
So is it a SUV?
Yep.
Okay.
Full 8-passenger if you have the bench seat in the middle, or 7 if you do captain's chairs. It's got USB ports for everybody, in-car Wi-Fi. All of that safety stuff that Subaru's now known for with the EyeSight driver package that prevents you from crashing into things.
I hope it's at
That's
the auto.
standard.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Nick is going to the auto show. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm going to the new.
You need to sit in it.
Yeah,
Touch the
I
thing.
gotta find it, and I have a strange feeling that it's going to be in the basement, because that's where they put all the, 7-seater just monstrosities.
Yes, and it's
that are-
going to be a beautiful display. They had one at the Philadelphia Flower Show, and people could go climb around and stuff. Yeah, Subaru sponsors the Flower Show every year.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah.
Well, keep in mind environmental stuff. We do the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Oh, I didn't know
if
that.
it involves going outside and playing or doing something nature related, chances are Subaru tries to throw some money behind it to support it, because those are the people that buy Subarus.
Giant novelty checks.
Yes. Oh, yeah. For those of you who have been commenting on our background, these are some of our lovely little display items from past events. We've had times that we've done with the Animal Rescue League. Oh, yes. Better mic.
That should have been the thing I should have thought about first. Why is this mic so quiet? Oh, hike up on it.
There we go.
I didn't even realize when you mentioned, because the Subaru loves. The Subaru loves pets thing. I didn't even realize it's actually like a cutout of a doghouse.
Oh, yeah. And then I was able to just superimpose people's names right onto the little blank part so that you could take a picture with your dog. We got a $5,000 grant for the Animal Rescue League last year to do 2 adoption weekends. So we paid for everybody's adoption fees and taxes.
Oh.
So you just had to come out during one of the weekends and, pass the paperwork in, and then we paid for the dogs.
Behold, a dog.
Yeah. I mean, think about how cool that would be if, like, you were a kid and your parents were like, no, we can't afford a dog. I'm sorry, we can't afford a dog. And then all of a sudden you see this thing on the internet that says, hey, we're covering the cost of the dog.
I mean, that's kind of how
get one.
That's kind of how you make a Subaru person for life. Like, you get them young. It's almost, well, I mean, to make it sound sinister, but I mean, you inspire. If you do something like that, it can inspire loyalty in people.
I'm a product of that myself. I mean, I've been driving. I think I'm on the BRZ is Subaru number 5 for me. At one point, I had 3, 4, and 5 sitting in my driveway at the same time, and my wife was like, are you just collecting them now? And I was like, no, I'll get rid of one of them.
Yeah, but all the parts from one fit into another. And that's
if only. One was 98.
Really?
Yeah, one was 98. One was an 06 Outback Sport, and then the 16 BRZ. I tend to get 10-year cars apart.
Okay.
I keep them until they really, really fall apart.
So with the new World platform, now there's a new engine, and where Subaru has direct injection now. And okay, so the base one, we can talk about the Impreza that you, or rather Steve Moore, loaned me for generously for a few days.
Sure, complimentary loaner cars if you come for service.
It was an Impreza with an automatic, and it was so nice that when it comes time to review, maybe not that one when we do film it, but an Impreza like it.
Sure.
That it was the first time I was able to have a car for more than one day and actually get my thoughts down. So it's going to be way more in depth than your average thing, or rather, I can be more accurate. And
the torque dip. Hang on, I'm just going to interrupt real quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can answer this.
Who's talking?
Jacob Shapiro. The BRZ guy knows how to get rid of the torque dip. No. That's actually my answer to you. If you want to change your engine and you want to remap it, you're going to end up doing forced induction, some form of boost. That torque dip is there almost by design because that's where you're going to have a little more relaxation when you're sitting and driving at about 4K. My BRZ very rarely gets below 4K. I'm usually between 5.5 and 7, just zipping around on the back roads like an idiot. See, the thing is, it's only for driving for fun. It's a car made to be giggly. If you want it to go faster and you want to get rid of the torque dip, no. You put a supercharger on it, the fuel pump is designed to push 3,000 PSI, so you should be okay not upgrading that. The injectors should be okay. But yeah, and cooling, high flow exhaust, maybe some long tube headers. But you got to tell the car it's got all that extra airflow, or else it's going to stay restricted because of the map on the car again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's why. I got a short RAM intake, and it does crap because.
Man, what's it doing?
Yeah, it's doing nothing.
Unless your car knows it's got it, it doesn't do anything.
Right. Yeah.
Also, for everybody out there who wants to hate on the BRZ, hate on. It's a joy car.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Miata. It makes you feel joy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you. Actually, it blows through tires pretty good if you turn off traction control. But it's not like you're gonna do standing quarter miles and wreck people. You're not gonna show off. I have old women in Camaros pull up to me and be like, "Look at that," and I'll go, "No, honey, yours is much faster. Please,
Yeah.
Go ahead." Somebody in a Hartga BMW SUV smoked me in a straight line. Like, yeah, it's embarrassing, but I love it.
This one guy's claiming E85 and a tune kills the dip. Well, the tune is
the tune will kill it, and you're going to want to put different injectors in to handle the E85 and different fuel lines. You don't want to rot your fuel lines out.
Mr. Regular doesn't know shit about cars. His voice sounds rougher than rubbing a piece of paper of granite on cheese grater. He's the game grumps of car reviewers. I'm an English major masquerading as a car reviewer. You should know this by now.
I gotta say, though, I like his name. Anakin Sky Cancer.
Yeah, it is good.
Shout out for the name.
Yeah.
Hate on troll, but that's a good name.
BRZ greater than GT86.
They're the same car.
Same car.
Same car, same factory, same robots.
Mm-hmm. So we now have direct injection on the base models with double cams, and they all have the multi-layer head gaskets now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It's look, for everybody out there who wants to give Subaru a hard time, just know that they do own up to all of the different component failures in the past, and they do warranty them, and they do recalls on them, and they're very generous about it. You just have to actually talk to your local service centers and talk to your local dealers and be a nice human being, and Subaru generally tends to be nice back to you. We took care of his 14-year-old Forester under recall. I think they did both of the control arms.
They did, yeah.
And that's just because we want you to be safe.
Yeah.
There's no point, again, not to sound on brand and hokey, but think about it this way. If our customers survive, they buy more cars. You don't see a lot of people having really bad Subaru accidents, or if they do have a bad one, they're usually generally okay.
Yeah.
And so if you've ever wrecked a car or been in a major accident, you know how traumatic it can be. And to avoid that or have a minor fender bender as opposed to a big one, it really matters. And that safety first mentality is what they do.
Well, that's literally Subaru's ad campaign right now, the national one of, you hand it down to your kid, and then it's the kid calling their parent to say, like, I'm in an accident, blah, 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 blah. It's like the only thing that matters is that you're okay. And the brand is selling the notion that, like, we got you. Yes. Like, we just come to us for safety. You'll probably get smoked by a Bimmer or whatever, but who cares?
Well, that's where you have to prioritize what you want in life. Because, you made a really good point, Brian, about the fact that the engine and the build quality is much improved on this generation of Impreza, especially on the new global platform. But that's because we're building cars for North America in Indiana. Lafayette, Indiana, the Subaru plant there employs a ton of people. And it's one of the first environmentally friendly car plants in the country. And I think they have a stellar recycling to waste ratio. But it means that the new Impreza, the new Crosstrek, the new Ascent, the Outback, and Legacy are all built in Indiana.
Yeah.
And so you've got actual Americans taking the time to put cars together for other Americans. And it matters. It matters to people.
That's the way I did a lot of highway in the loaner car you gave me. Again, for people who are wondering, it's a 2-liter double cam direct injection flat 4. And I think all torque converter automatics are gone now. Is it all CVTs now in the lineup? And I understand it. I think if you're going to give someone a car just for daily driving, we make fun of CVTs. Again, it starts with Subaru again with a Justy back in like the late 70s or something like that. Their early CVT that they made. They were like, what the crap is this? So CVT's got a bad rap, but now they're not using, they're using metal bands.
Footsie.
Yeah.
Big. Woohoo.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a full steel chain. There's no more, it's not a rubber belt anymore. But you're absolutely right.
And what that allowed to do, now, I like the car, but I'm going to be honest, I was bored because I'm like, I need a stick shift here. But at the same time, I felt sick because I know that, well, I read up on the 2018 Impreza, and the CVT automatic gets better gas mileage than the manual.
Yes.
If I had the manual, I'd be having more fun. I'd be getting like 3 less miles per gallon.
What's the phrase? Smiles per gallon versus miles per gallon.
Yeah. Shout out to the dude in blue.
Yep.
I don't know if he coined that or something else.
Yeah, I think he popularized it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he...
So, but the interesting thing about the CVT and the gear ratios of the Impreza automatic is that I'm going 70 miles an hour on. There is parts up there where it's 70 miles an hour on our highways in PA now, thank goodness. And I'm turning $2,000 at 70. And my mileage, I averaged when I was careful. And then toward the end of the loaner period, I started playing with the car and then my mileage went down. But I'm driving a Subaru and I'm getting 35 miles per gallon. That's never happened before. And that's acceptable for everybody. And what I think, what are we reading here?
Levi Lockhart, the most recent comment, just giving you your own little shout out about eating half a bag of plums when you did a Baja or did the Brat.
Oh, yeah. That was a brat. I ate half a bag of plums and tried to do that, and I immediately...
Nature's laxative.
How do you get through half a bag of plums?
They're so sweet and juicy.
They really are. But see, what happens to me is I get stuck on the pit, and I just spend like an hour enjoying the pit, like rolling it around in there.
Oh, these were dried plums. These were prunes.
Oh!
So they're popping
okay.
out of that bag.
Yeah, they're just
like eating giant raisins.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's like just you're in the can for hours.
And what I took away, like the overarching theme you're going to see on the review, is that for most of the 90s and early 2000s, Subaru was preaching to the pulpit. They were only speaking with their car designs to their people. We're weird cars for weird people. And then there was that really good Jalopnik article last week, how in the 70s and early 80s, they just sidestepped the bad reviews of the 360 and targeted markets where Consumer Reports had nothing. So like, well, that's all in New England and the Pacific Northwest. Let's just hardcore, just plop them down here. And it worked. Yeah. So they got Vermont on lockdown.
Hey, I have a question in the comment that is, and I think this is for Ken, but I don't know why he would necessarily be expected to know, but is the Subaru Baja pickup still happening?
Oh, it's happening, but it's not available for sale as a new vehicle.
Huh.
They're maybe I'm misinterpreting your question.
Are they bringing back a Ute? I think is what he's asking.
Oh, the answer to that is not to my knowledge, but I saw recently somebody did like a graphic design of the front end of an Ascent and the back end of a truck, and it was like perfect. I would give them my money for that.
What'll happen is it'll be the Baja all over again. People will laugh at it. This is stupid. And then 10 years later, the resale.
Amazing.
There was this guy.
Such a good car.
There was this guy in my neighborhood. We talked about this before. It showed up on Craigslist and was sold by the end of the day. Yeah. It was a black Baja with some sort of like weird dealer trim on the side. It was black. It was black on red, or red on black should have been. It's like black with like red trim, like accent or pinstriping or something like that. And it had 297,000 miles on the body. I think 100,000 miles on the engine, and asking price $2,000. Pop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was. And I knew the guy because he does paint, which made me wonder. The wheels were bright red. I wonder if he powder coated them or did something. To my knowledge, Bajas were kind of. I've never seen that sort of paint thing. I'm thinking it was a black one that maybe a dealer put some sort of pinstriping on,
Probably.
and then the paint guy just made the wheels to match the pinstriping. It was
That's a nice look, though.
Yeah, it was manual, black leather interior.
A good one.
And it was. I'm like, shit, I should just buy that and flip the fuck out of that thing.
You could sell that for 10.
Detail the hell out of that engine, and
but that also speaks to the enthusiasm of people. I saw somebody ask. It was way up in the comments, but he said all this talk about Subarus. Little shout out to the Honda CR-V. I'd like to just say that it doesn't really matter which car brand you prefer. I personally tend to like Subarus because my personal experiences with them have been largely positive. If you dig your Mustang, power to you. It's a cool car.
Yesterday,
It's like you can't. My wife is a Honda girl, and no matter what I try to do, she loves her Hondas. If you like a product and you stand by it and it stands by you, look, that's what matters, man. If you can go to a place of business and deal with the people there who will support you and back the thing they sell, that's the important bit.
Yeah.
Not which brand it is.
Right.
We just happen to sell a really kick-ass brand of car.
yeah.
Yeah, yesterday I was getting out of Pacific Rim Uprising with my nephew.
How was it?
It was good. It's if you just like seeing
As good as the first one?
No, but it's still fun popcorn enjoyment and pretty short too. Like it doesn't make much demand on your time. But basically, when we were coming out, a teenager said, "Hey, I love your car," and this happened. This is the fourth time this has happened since I got the car, and 3 years ago or so. And basically the only people who ever do this are teenagers. It's always, and now I don't know for a fact that this guy was a teenager, but he was like kind of young. He was wearing shorts in 47 degree weather, and it looked like he just got out of like a JV type thing, but he had facial hair. Long story short is just that he's like, oh man, I love Mustangs and everything, and this is the kind of like enthusiasm for Mustangs that I don't really see anywhere else but in young people, because it kind of like reminds me of myself, because now people are kind of they're into the whole meme of Mustangs are killing everybody, and also the redesign, the Mustang is super angry looking now.
I like the front end. I think it looks. I like it. I like an angry looking Mustang.
Yeah. No, I love my Mustang. It's just I don't know.
They did a grabber blue Mustang in the 70s that was one of my all time favorite paint schemes.
Is that early Boss 302?
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and part of why I have the Hyper Blue BRZ is because Bugatti's 1920s racing blue and Mustang's grabber blue. Since I was a kid looking at different cars, I joked that I'm going to have a little bright blue sports car, and not like World Rally blue, although I do like that as a color, but we're talking like powder smurf duck egg blue, the ridiculous color that it is. I love it.
Speaking of BRZs, I didn't see the white one with the wing on it.
Oh yeah, Tom bought it.
Who bought it?
Kid named Tom Lenker. He's a local Subaru enthusiast. Had a World Rally blue BRZ that he traded in.
Yeah.
Drove it home in a snowstorm.
I saw him
on the side of the road, pushing it, right?
Yes, I saw him at the top. When I dropped off.
He's a madman. That kid's so cool.
When I dropped off Goldie to get welded up at Bruce Hen, one of the mechanics was driving me back home because he lives on the way, or I'm on the way. By the way, he drives a Silverado with a tune on it with 1,000 foot-pounds of torque.
Oh, that's epic.
It is a diesel. He bought the car from this TV show called
Holly Slicks or something to put that type of power down.
It's pretty wide wheels, and he says they are off-road wheels, but he noticed this thing with wheels that wide in snow, it tends to float.
Yeah, you track.
He bought it from the show called Diesel Brothers. I don't know the show. Maybe people in the comments know who Diesel Brothers are, but he bought it from that show. Anyway, so he like tuned it further, put it on the dyno. So that's 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. But we're cresting the hill on 61, going down toward Deer Lake, where Deer Lake Auto is, and we see this BRZ with this wing on the back. It's over on the side of the road in the snow. The snow's up to the lip. I'm like, look at this asshole. Wait a minute. I know that car. Like, no way. Someone bought it that day and was driving it home. We're like, oh man, should we help? Or we just kept going.
He's fantastic.
Did he make it home?
I believe so.
Okay.
From what I heard, he did not damage the car.
Huh. Okay, good.
His brother was with him and I believe pushed most of the way up 61. Now it's a good thing that car only weighs 2,800 pounds with him in it, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He couldn't wait a day.
I think we would have even have given him a loaner just to take it home, come back the next day with your paperwork's all done. Just come back with a loaner and get your car.
Yeah.
I do understand his joy, though. I really, truly do. That TS it's about as nice as a BRZ can get before you do any engine work to it.
For people in the chat, explain what the BRZ TS is.
For 2018 Subaru's STI division, the folks at Subaru Technica International who do all the STI cars went through the BRZ and heavily modified the suspension. They put the rear wing is an actual active working aerodynamic piece. It's adjustable so you can change the rake angle. It's made of dry carbon. The engine now has an aluminum powder coated manifold instead of the plastic one like mine had. The brakes were done by Brembo and they put 19-inch wheels on it to accommodate that. All the damping and front suspension and rear suspension was heavily adjusted to give you better contact patches for longer periods of time. So when you're really thrashing the car, you stay planted longer and less harsh of a ride. Personally, I like the feeling of like bouncy, bumpy in a sports car.
Yeah.
The claim is that this one feels like really fast, but it's not. At the end of the day, it only has 5 more horsepower than it did before. And if you want to make it faster, Subaru and Toyota have wonderful catalogs that you can raid.
Yeah.
Both TRD and STI stuff fits great. There's also aftermarket support. I know that I was considering buying long tube headers and a catless exhaust from Nameless. I thought about doing a supercharger kit from Sprintex. Willwood makes one too. I mean, you put money into it, you can make your car faster.
Yeah.
Not possible to do with the chassis.
Right.
The average do-it-yourselfer or average guy with money cannot put money into the car to make the chassis better. You just can't. The manufacturer
You need
does
to know
that
a
first.
guy, and there's a lot of tuning in that. You can make it harsher for sure.
Oh yeah, you can mess
That's
it up real easy
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But it's much easier to make a car faster by doing the engine. And that's why Subaru will probably never make a turbocharged BRZ. Because you can always buy your own turbo and your own intercooler and you can pay a guy to make it faster. That's my opinion. Everybody, keep in mind that I am a representative of Ken, and not a representative of Subaru Corporate. These are my opinions, and I really do like the brand.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of like leaving money on the table?
No.
Not at all.
Because the amount of people who buy BRZs and GT86s is so small already globally that if you were to make a GT86 GT or a BRZ GT, like 6 dudes are going to buy it.
Oh.
I mean, those would be 6 happy dudes.
And all 6 of them will show up at the same show.
Oh, yeah, they'll probably eventually get in the same neighborhood and sort of like congregate.
Yeah.
I'm a member of some enthusiast clubs, and every once in a while we'll see each other in public and be like,
We got a guy in the chat that says, I just joined and knew exactly which car you were talking about when you said it had 5 more horsepower than before.
That man has done his research. Well done, No Name.
So one of us.
Yeah.
So I looked at, there's someone at my gym who has one of the newer, I think it's 2015 to 2017. I don't know which generation it flips. The new Outbacks are only slightly larger than the second gen Foresters and have sort of the same dimensions.
That's right.
So afterwards, if you don't mind, I know people are making fun of me in the comments because it all comes down to, does it have metal tie-down loops in the back? Do you know if it does?
We'll look on the 18s.
Okay, to see if it's there.
Here's the thing about where the metal tie-down loops are. I want to make sure that they're actually mounted to the frame of the car rather than mounted to a ancillary mounting point.
We found that out with the Crosstrek.
Right.
Crosstrek looks great. The mounting points are just push fitted into the trim of the car.
They are robust. Keep that in mind. They're not all the way down like the hard points used to be.
Right.
So we got to take a look at the Outback for that.
Yeah. The the way we do filming with RCR, I've said this before, but it's a tripod ratchet strapped hard down, and we had a Lancaster 6 Subaru in New Zealand as a camera car. They called it something else here, where they put the 6-cylinder and the flat six.
Yeah, it's the Legacy with the 6 in it. We have we call it a 3.6R. Okay, it's got like, actually I should know the stats on this. It's got like 270 something horsepower.
Nice.
Pushing around a 280 torque, but it's a super duper gutsy feeling car. It's the instant wave of like push the throttle and sort of the car stands up and goes, and that's kind of fun for people. I'd love to have a 3.6.
The this one was a 6-cylinder Outback bought in New Zealand for $1,500 New Zealand. Which is $1,300. So think about what a car is when it's that cheap.
That's great.
It had warped rotors and everything. Isaac, shout out to Isaac from Automation. That was his daily. He says, do whatever you want with this thing. I don't care. So that was our camera car, and that one had plastic tie down loops. Was hard mounted to the frame, but they were still plastic, and I half pulled one of them out just by lightly.
I feel like you get squeaky too. Like the plastic one would just start going, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
An interesting somebody, if you go up in the comments, somebody suggested something to you about alternative for tie down loops, different mounting method.
Why not get some kind of spring-loaded mechanism?
That one, yeah.
To secure the tripod against the roof of the car. And yes, 2005 to 2009 Outbacks have metal tie-down straps. And sorry, I was off mic for the entirety of that. But hopefully people saw Josh Rips's comment in the chat.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. There are mounting rigs for car roofs.
Now you're going to have to go through the headliner.
Yes.
You're going to have to cut the headliner to do that.
100%.
Yeah. Like, okay, so what, the tripod's going to be upside down now?
Yeah. Right?
It's going to be a pain in the ass every day to rig that up. One of the guys at Moyer's Car Care suggested either using Eyebolts. Now, all of this is you're drilling through the floor.
Right.
Eyebolts, or they do make aftermarket cargo loops, just the plain ones for pickup trucks. Now, that's either self-tappers that would go in, hold down the soup. What I noticed with the new Impreza platforms is that the floors down here, and this is probably NHV, noise harshness vibration, that there's that block of foam, hard open cell or closed cell, I don't know which one. You got it. Foam that holds the toolkit and everything, and then there's the floor on top of that. You would have to go through all of that and somehow put a gigantic spacer on that. Would that flex left and right as you put load on it? Because now your mounting point is going to be down here, but your point where it's going to pull is way up here. Would I want to go and buy a brand new car and immediately start voiding all sorts of warranties on it? I mean, it's a baller thing to do, but
I still think that Andy will find you like a 12 to 13, like a 11 to 13 Forester stick shift.
I mean, realistically, how long
if he keeps looking
was Sally even in our possession before
How long?
She became unsellable or impossible to resell?
Like a month?
Yeah.
No, that was another $5,000 car, and
Dynamat.
Oh yeah, I immediately put Dynamat inside the car. Put extra 25. What do you see?
Motor Armies, piece of plywood, mount your rig to that. Put the whole thing in the hatch. A few square feet of Velcro
on the floor. Hold it down.
Plywood just fine, dude. That man has made a pedal board before. I'm sure of it. That is
from a shoegaze music.
Exactly. But look, there are other mounting solutions. I would use Velcro. You could just barge cement a piece in there, and that's never coming out. You've got adhesives that you could, if you're going to void a warranty, you could void a warranty in a million different fun ways.
Right now, I mean, the Forester XT post facelift second gen bug hit me.
Cool. Those are really cool.
I'm going to have to look for, like, unless something comes out that's gives me that same. I've never owned a turbo or forced induction anything yet, so The thing that's going to replace Goldie, now that she's welded up, I'm having that car for at least another year, and I just put new tires on it. That's another thing I'm thinking in my head. I just put new tires on it. I want to wear those.
You should keep Goldie. Even if you get something new, just keep it as like a spare thing. Because eventually you'll just want to put bigger suspension on it and take it mudding.
I saw some pretty nice Subarus that were jacked up with the frickin' Mickey Thompsons on them.
I'm trying to score anywhere from like 96 to 02 Forester suspension to put on my legacy wagon, just so I can have a lift on it. Because apparently it's the same bolt pattern.
Really?
From what I've been told. Now I haven't confirmed this because I haven't gotten my car up on a lift and tried yet. But they look the same.
Does the angle of the your half shafts, is that gonna be a problem?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
All right.
What am I driving? It's a 98 legacy wagon.
All right. Yeah.
With 357,000 miles on it. That's my winter car.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll buy another one next year for another $150 if I'm lucky. Yeah, I love beater cars. I think I grew up on beater cars and tractors. I mean, that's why I drove a stick shift early.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just easier. But eventually, like, some of the people have some nice comments about different options for how you could do tie downs. The guys, magnetic tie down points, electromagnets. There's all kinds of things.
I'm getting crazy.
Well, but it wouldn't void a warranty because you
it wouldn't. Yeah.
You wouldn't have a hard point. It would just be you turn it on and it's never coming off unless you're Thor.
That's true.
Chevy Trailblazer or one of its related cousins. Metal tie downs that can survive a strap no problem. Made until 09. Option of
Trailblazer.
Power in the rear liftgate glass opens independent of the tailgate.
Oh, that's true. I'm driving a Trailblazer with maybe a 4L60E in it transmission. Just Trailblazer.
Gotta get that LS power in there.
They did the V8 model of the Trailblazer's actually not terrible.
Three beards talking about Subaru approaching peak hipster.
And
hold on.
Yeah.
Can you take this to the next?
Oh, geez. Yep. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Oh. Can this get any more Montpelier?
And I just overdosed on black tea, so I'm gonna be feeling this.
XC70. There's all these Volvo people wanting me to go Volvo.
Volvos are nice. I had an old 240 DL for a little while.
Well, those are classic stuff. They want me to get something like mid 2000s, the weird 5-cylinder turbos. I drove them. They're nice. But the thing is, I'm also looking now at what is my network in sort of this East Central PA.
What about a van?
They did make the only van that really grabs me is the late 80s, early 90s Caravan. You could get them in a stick shift. That big thing coming out. I had
a 1990 Dodge Caravan with a stick.
Whoa,
where'd you school?
Was that parents or?
Yeah, my dad bought it for me when I was in high school. That's what I took my driving test in.
Stick shift minivan.
Yeah. Me and my buddies turned it into a living room on wheels. Tore out the middle seat, put a little 4-inch black and white TV in that ran off the AC adapter, put a plant in, Venetian blinds.
Nice.
I rigged up a big old subwoofer that I bought on eBay. And because I was a sophomore with a car, some seniors broke into it and vandalized the interior of my car and put out a bunch of cigarettes in the plant and smashed one of the windows. And I parted out the van for $300. And my dad, my dad spent $400 on it and he was a little annoyed that I lost $100 on my car. But that was 16 years old. Good times to be alive.
Yeah, well,
hey man, don't park in the senior parking lot as a sophomore, and then tout the fact that you're driving when nobody else is. Oh, you're just looking for hate.
Yeah, but don't get butt mad about like everything. Like if you're a senior,
smash the windows,
smash the rear window.
What the hell?
I'm pretty sure that they were horsing around inside of it, and something just got thrown or broken because I left it unlocked. They didn't need to smash it to get into it.
That is true. Dragonhead said Mazda did do a minivan. I saw that. I forget the name. What it is? It's a Mazda something. There is a Mazda station wagon. This is a good luck finding one.
Yeah.
Of course, I did see one on one of those the little used car dealerships on 61. Like there's a strip of them right before you come into Leesport.
The MPV. Yep. People in the comments know.
Yeah. There's also they did a Mazda 6 GT wagon. in the mid 2000s. That's a Mazda 6 with a Ford Duratec 3-liter double cam V6 in it, with and you could get it with a stick shift. I think it's driving the front wheels still, or maybe they had some weird Ford all-wheel drive.
No, it's got to be front. They only did a front diff, I think, in that era. I could be wrong. Again, my Subaru guy, not a Mazda guy.
The Mazda Speed 6 was all-wheel drive.
That's the Speed, though. We're not talking different car.
Yeah. The Mazda 6 Wagon, you could find it with a stick. You go on Auto Tempest, and hopefully
Chevy Astro van with a Tremec T5, with a sequential gearbox and a Chevy Astro van.
Oh, shut up.
And an 8-inch lift with good BF Goodriches on it. Actually, I want to ask a question to the commenters out there.
Okay.
If somebody was going to actually think about this for a second, have a camera car for whatever they needed, it's got to be able to haul gear. It's got to be able to get reasonable mileage. You can't be doing like a Suburban that only gets 6 miles per gallon. It's got to be safe enough that if something goes wrong with it, you don't die. So you got to take anything pre-1950s out of the equation. Yeah. And so, commenters, is there? It's got to
be 2004 or newer, because for helping my loneliness and social interaction, I drive Lyft. So the rule in Pennsylvania is 2004 or newer.
So
it has to be stick shift. We already said we have this big laundry list of things, and the thing that, it has to be a wagon or something with a flat rear, and it has to fit that tripod in the back, and it has to have metal tie-down loops or an equivalent that'll hold something.
Range Rover RAV4. VW Vanagon.
Nice.
Toyota Previa. Honda Element.
Everybody said the Previa, they didn't make it.
The Honda Element wouldn't be terrible.
They did make it with a stick shift. Yeah. You could get all of this.
It's drugs. Super slow and boring. And I mean, it's a cardboard box on wheels, but it's a good cardboard box on wheels. I like the Element.
I mean, it kind of ties into a question that we got on the subreddit r/regular car reviews, that it's this guy and his girlfriend are looking for inexpensive cameras to start with. And, oh, wait, no, never mind, because they're talking about cameras, not camera cars. All right. That's my mistake, everybody.
Tell them to use their cell phones.
What? Are you buying an SLR, like camera? Like, you need to be more specific on that.
Because they're saying, looking for your input on inexpensive cameras to start with. My girlfriend and I are looking at getting into photography and don't really know where to start.
Photography.
Yeah, so that was
Nikon or Canon would be fine. Nikon or Canon. You're going to want... I wouldn't say start with full frame, because now you're talking about a camera that's a couple $1,000. Go on Craigslist. Honestly, dude, if you can find, this is only going to be a 6 megapixel camera, so that's going to be that's going to sound like, oh, my phone has more than that. Yeah, hold on. There's one camera that Nikon made. It's called the D50. The D50 was the first camera that Nikon made that used an SD card. Now, this is like 2005. You can probably buy them for like $100, $200. The unique thing about the D50 is it's backwards compatible with all of the old motor drive lenses. So it has a motor drive and a screw within the camera. There's a motor in the camera that will operate the old autofocus lenses going all the way back to the 60s. Those early ones. So you could Nikon D50.
D50, okay.
D50. And you can put a modern one on.
I'm making a note of that.
That has the all modern automatic focusing lenses have the motor in the lens.
Right.
And it's just a computer thing that hooks up. And your modern lenses will work. But if you get an old one that has the gears in it, that requires the camera to power to physically, it's like a little diff that comes out. It's a little screw, and it mates up with the one in the lens.
It's a spline shaft that still turns it. It's exactly that. Yeah.
The D50 knows which one it is, clicks it on. Actually, there's two switches. There's an automatic focus on the camera, and then there's another one on the lens, and they'll both work. So you can put both of them on there, and it'll work.
Wow.
Super, super cheap. You'll probably find one guy selling one for you can get with I bought mine for $300, and it came with an extra lens and all the other old stuff.
Mirrorless cameras, top
You 200, you can T5 for that. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I gave you my opinion. That's my opinion because the
like that
D50 is going to
idea.
teach you a lot. It's the equivalent of what motorcycle should I get? You got to buy your 250 that's going to teach you how to ride a motorcycle. Don't get your Yamaha R6. I wouldn't even get a 500 unless you're getting the Suzuki the XS60 Boulevard or Suzuki Savage S.
Or if you weigh more than 200 pounds,
There you go.
Don't get a lightweight. For those of you who do ride, don't get a lightweight bike if you weigh a lot.
Yeah. Honestly, the Harley 883 Sportster isn't bad. It's a pretty good first bike. Anyway, we've been going about for an hour. The coffee's still working. Family truckster. Yeah, right.
I'll plug something if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead and plug something. I'm going to fill up on water right there.
Well, Brian wanders off to go get his refreshments. I just want to talk about something real quick. Being that this is a professional car dealership and that we are trying to do what's right by our community, working with YouTubers like Brian is really nice for us. This has been the first time that we've been able to do something like this, and it does take reaching out. So for anyone else out there who does car reviews, is interested in Subarus, and is willing to give a nice family business a fair try, you can visit our website. It is moyersubaru.com. You can send me personally an email. It is ken, K-E-N, .veit, V-E-I-T, at stevemoyersubaru.com. We have lots of charitable events that you can ask questions about that we do. And really, it's cool that we can have the ability to bring in people like this, and that the owners and general managers are all right with us having an hours-long talk about things that aren't necessarily selling a car, because we know that the community we serve cares. So if you're ever in the neighborhood of Leesport, Pennsylvania, and you'd like to stop in and look at what we have in our inventory, or if you visit our website, or if we redirect any of the cool content that Mr. Regular here makes, we have our own social media. We do giveaways, but also we try really hard to make sure that we're doing proper outreach to local schools, local hospitals, and other organizations. And if you're in the Reading, Pennsylvania area, Greater Berks County, Pennsylvania, please consider coming out to our car show for charity. It'll be October the 7th this year, and all of the information can be found on Subi Bash. Just Google Subi Bash, find it on Facebook, and I really do appreciate that time. Thanks for listening to me, everybody.
Cool.
That was a good plug.
Yeah, that's
Well
well said.
Gosh, there was other stuff I wanted to try to get your opinion on. It keeps coming back to the world platform with Subaru, and how when I was driving that 2018 Impreza for a few days, there were bits of the old goofy Subaru-ness about it, but there was also oh gosh, what's my joke?
I remember you told me that if Subaru had built this car 10 years ago at the beginning of the 2000s, or 20 years ago at the beginning of the 2000s, we'd be half as big as Toyota already, instead of just 5% of the global car market.
Yeah, okay, what's my joke? Like, it'll work in Subaru's favor. Like, oh yeah, here's the joke. 2018 Subaru Impreza. Congratulations, Subaru, you made a Mazda 3. But okay, but
with all-wheel drive and a 5-star safety rating for under 20 grand.
Right, that's the thing.
Yeah, you can't get that from Mazda for that price.
Right, like it felt. I had this really, and this is before I owned a Subaru. I got into, I forget. People can tell me what year it was. It might have been like a 2015 WRX sedan.
That's nice.
And I said it was nice, but where's the craziness? Like it. Now I understand what they were starting to do then. They were, and I used this term before, preaching to the choir. Like Subarus were weird, embrace the weirdness, embrace the harshness of the noise, embrace the growl, embrace the head gaskets and everything like that. And I'm like, my joke was, oh, congratulations, Subaru, you made a Camry. This doesn't feel like a Subaru. I'm like, oh, there actually is a plan for this.
Yeah.
We can't keep delivering deep cuts to our local fan base that's not keeping the lights on. We need I need like a musical introduction.
Like you can't be playing Zwan all the time. Like you need to go back to like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Shit, that was.
Oh,
deep.
that is a real deep. Okay.
Yeah, it's you. Well, I mean, it's you.
Smashing Pumpkins reference from the 90s. I love it.
There are some people. This old rock and roll guy by the name of Ricky Nelson who tried to play his new stuff, and people weren't
Is that the
having
guy
it.
who did Garden Party?
Yep.
Okay.
He was like a teen idol guy and had all his, little teen hits, and then he decided, oh, I'm gonna play like my mature stuff, and people are like, we're not here for it. It's just no.
I've often thought that if Subaru made some different choices as a company, they'd stop being Subaru.
Mm-hmm.
Subaru of America is really picky about how they run their business.
Mm-hmm.
The current president of Subaru America, Tom Dahl, is essentially a Subaru fanboy who's been with the company a long time and still eats his lunch in the cafeteria with the rest of the staff. Now that the offices are moving to Camden, you can see it from the sports complex in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
You can just look across the river and there's Subaru. They try to feel local even though they're a large Japanese conglomerate.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when we have the folks from Japan come visit our dealership, they say hello and they shake hands and they talk to you and they actually care about what's going on, because every single dealership, with the exception of the giant, monster ones that just focus on volume, are there to just help people get good cars.
Mm-hmm.
They do try to turn a profit, but they're just there to be helpful.
Right.
And that's kind of the reason why Subaru still feels different than when you go to like a Toyota dealership and they just go, hey, we will give you the best price. And Subaru goes, well, we'll give you the best price, but it's going to be a little more because there's a lot of stuff on it that's worth that. Right.
And you need to find a way, or you need to, and the new global platform and the new engine is, see, when I write, I have a very difficult time doing it, riffing right away.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be a product for people who aren't fanboys of Subaru.
Right.
You need to get people who may have had Hondas for a long time or Toyotas to consider the last of the independents.
Yes.
To try this. This is not like you put somebody like if you put somebody in an RS from like 2001,
it's not the same car.
they're like, this, I don't like this. Why is this shaking? What's this noise? I'm like,
everything's
this
loud.
But for us, like, this is awesome.
I know.
Blah blah, like blah, 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 everywhere. But
If I could have a 2.5 RS today. I had a 2.2 RS for a couple of years. That was nice. But
but here's a Subaru that, here's a product from an independent manufacturer that feels like what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's
try the Crosstrek. For anybody out there who's thinking that Brian is just waxing lyrical about how nice it is and hoping that I give him more loaner cars,
meh.
It's not. It's
Part of
actually legitimately really nice. Consumer Reports, who used to hate on Subaru, they gave the Crosstrek an 87 out of 100 on their road test, which, if you know Consumer Reports, that's really high.
Mm-hmm.
They USA Today called it cool. The Subaru hasn't been cool since the first WRX got here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like an 01 WRX. That was the last cool Subaru.
With the one in Fast and the Furious or whatever.
That's only cool if you like Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
There's like the undeniably cool late 90s look of that boxy little thing that Colin McRae would thrash around.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't that great of a car, it was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was that kind of thing where everybody kind of wanted one. It's the movie that you had to lie about having seen.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Men in Black. Like that summer, I did not see Men in Black and had to pretend and lie for like 2 years that I'd seen Men in Black. And it was the same garbage with Fast and the Furious. I'm sure it was a great movie.
The first Fast and Furious was a cool movie.
Yeah, but
Very of its time.
I mean, I've seen Men in Black and the first Fast and Furious since then, and Too Fast, Too Furious. But everything else, no dice.
Have you seen Two Men in Black?
Oh, Two Men in Black?
Men in Black 2?
Yeah. It was doing like a no.
Okay.
No. Funnily enough, I didn't, but I saw the third one. So.
In reference to when you move to Colorado, you get a free Subi when you realize that normally aspirated cars don't work at elevation.
Yeah. We found out that out. We found that.
Oh, a flat joke. I love it. Let the puns begin. Two men.
Yeah.
Yes.
Silicon Sally ran like crap when we were in Boulder. We were
all
already
30
at
horsepower at that point.
like, just give me a freaking WRX at this point. Give me something that's shoving air in.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Subaru Loyale.
Oh yeah, the Loyale was cool. We had one of the staff drove an '84 Loyale stick shift with the button that you could press on the lever the gear lever to engage the all-wheel drive. That was super cool.
Okay, we've been going for about an hour 15 now. We're probably
I really like the chat. These people have asked some phenomenal questions. To everybody out there, you guys have been really, really cool. It's nice to read your comments.
There was one guy, now that I said I'm looking for a post-facelift, second-gen Forester XT, some of them showed up in Colorado. The trick is we have to find one that's south or southwest. There's just no two ways about it. Pennsylvania, we talked about the porous seam sealer, and then throw a Pennsylvania, New England winter on top of that with the salt and everything. That just wrecks it further. So if you can find one, they say Colorado's winters are dry. You'd be good there.
Ideally, just find one that someone has cared for.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're in Subaru of New England, Subaru of Canada, Subaru of America. Those are 3 separate Subarus, by the way.
Okay.
If the person has garaged their car and washed it and cleaned it, it doesn't matter how many hundreds of thousands of miles on it if they've changed their oil regularly and had the gaskets replaced when necessary. I'm pretty sure that my old green 98 will crack 400K, and I think I'm like the 5th owner of it. So it's just a proper maintenance. You don't have to spend much on your cars if you maintain them well.
Right.
And Subarus, being sort of built like rock boxes, tend to be like rocks. They're solid.
Racing 3, I potted Nick's mic down a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just that my mic discipline is garbage. You would think doing like radio at Kutztown by now that I would have, understood the 4 fingers. Yeah, the 4 fingers.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
So
I've seen people do that, and I never knew what they were doing.
You set this distance away from the mic and pot from there. And what this allows, like, the closer you get to the mic, the more you can pot it down, and the less the mic will hear of the room tone. Right. Of course, if you get too close, you're going to pop like crazy unless you have a big mic muff and a pop filter. That's why you see people with the Shure, the tried and true Shure SM58 mic on stage. They're eating the mic. That's because that mic is potted down so low, it's only hearing
so it doesn't pick up the rest of the stage.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Anyway, your dealership used to have a red Toyota Avalon, and I'm drooling. Too bad I'm halfway across the country. Love full size. Huh? I don't know. Were you on Auto Tempest or something like that?
Hey, we have awesome trade-ins. We're very picky about what we trade in, and we tend to keep things on our lot that are above $10,000 in value and resell them. So if you're looking for a very, very nice pre-owned car, that's what we have in our pre-owned inventory. We got the new Forester.
The Forester is different now. It's a family SUV.
If you want a fast, big SUV, you're going to want to either go with the full-size Ascent or the Outback 3.6 or a late model XT. The late model XTs are so much fun.
This guy has a question about his Subaru. Just got an 18 WRX, and I'm seeing people having issues with an oil sludge buildup on the intake runner. Is this still / really an issue on this platform, or has it been fixed?
It's not really that big of an issue. If people are getting that level of sludge building up, they should really take their car to their dealers, talk to the people who actually service their cars about what they can do to prevent that type of buildup. A lot of it has to do with which oils you're using, and you should be using what the factory recommends, which is on most Subarus a 0W20 full synthetic.
That's thin.
It's super thin. The tolerances are so small, it needs to be extremely viscous to get in there. And also because people drive their Subarus at all different temperatures, you need to be able to do cold starts and still have the oil get in there. Also, with it being a 6,000 mile interval, they're right on with your tire rotation. So rotate your tires and change your oils on your Subarus every 6K or sooner. That's just standard practice, and they'll run forever.
How many 2.2s are still out there and coming in still? Yeah.
Tons. People love their 2.2s. No one wants to trade them in because they just end up... What happens is somebody keeps their 2.2 from like 97, and then they end up buying a 2018 Crosstrek as a second car for it. The resale value of a 2.2 on the trade-in market is not great because a lot of people have manipulated them heavily. It's a love thing. People love to change their cars. And so you can't get a lot of money as a trade-in on an old 200,000 mile 2.2 that you've swapped out everything twice.
Right.
So just keep it, have it as a good, reliable beater, and get a new car.
Drive that thing until it doesn't pass inspection, no matter what you'll do.
Right.
And then it's a farm car. Yeah. and then that's
exactly.
it.
They're great. There's nothing better than an old Outback or an old Forester for a farm truck.
Benjamin said, are the non-turbo EJ20s, I'm pretty sure that's what they're referring to, the new one, are they going to be more reliable than the EJ25s that exist?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Reliability comes down to how you treat your car. If you don't change your oil and you don't rotate your tires and you don't properly maintain your car, no cars are reliable. Is it more reliable out of the box? Yeah, just change your oil. It's a newer engine. It's going to be a more reliable thing. They've all the improvements that are made over time. Every major company like Subaru spends all this money on research and development because they're listening to people's suggestions and they're trying to make a better product so more people will buy them. At the end of the day, they want to sell these products to people. And yes, it should be more reliable. What I've found is my FA20 engine in my BRZ is probably my favorite Subaru engine ever. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it revs. It's a cool little engine. It's tiny. It's 86 millimeter bore and stroke. It's the smallest little block I've ever seen. And it sits back behind my front suspension with the transmission sitting basically in my car. It's a great little design.
Are we gonna? Someone asked a question. I'm gonna ask a better one. I mean, not to knock that. I can see what you're asking. Well, you asked a yes or no question.
The answer is yes and no.
Yeah. Is a diesel a good engine? Well, it's a different kind of engine that does different things that a petrol engine doesn't.
Yeah, they run at a lower rate of rotations per minute, and they run on chunkier, thicker fuel.
Right. What is the EE20?
I don't know. Oh, that's the I think the engine that's in the 202, the fast one from Japan. No, I don't think we're going to get that one. Somebody asked if Subaru was a classic novel, which would it be?
Okay. It's gonna have to be something. Wait, it's gonna be a novel that it doesn't get good until halfway through.
Don Quixote.
Ooh, interesting. Never took Spanish, so I never had to read that book, and I never did.
He's a crazy guy who wanders around having visions or delusions of grandeur, and yet he still ends up doing the right thing and saving and being helpful.
I was thinking more Tess of the D'Urbervilles, where
familiar.
It's this poor girl, and then her life sort of goes to ruin. Okay, yeah, that's a bad example. Do choose your own adventure novels count? Because I feel sometimes Subarus want to be all things to all demographics in a way, and which is fine and a great thing, but I'm trying to think of that catch-all novel.
Subarus are about survival. As Subarus, this is some guy in the comments had always the question that everybody asks, what's up with the boxer engine? And there's bro science that goes into it, but it's also, look, this is what we got and we're sticking to it, is my interpretation of it. Yes, there is. You get the lower weight and then you get the drive shaft and everything's all in a line, and that's more efficient for all-wheel drive. But it's an odd thing. It's just like, who's doing this besides this and Porsche? And you're working with what you have, and you don't have much compared to all the larger dealerships. And this is a weird amalgamation of parts, and you're making it work. And once you learn what you have, the entire experience isn't that complicated.
Right.
And the novel that a Subaru is, and it's easy to understand. It's easier to understand once you read everything. And it's I'm going to go with a young adult novel. Hatchet by Gary Paulsen.
Oh. Actually, yes.
Have you read that?
I have.
Yeah.
I was going to jokingly say Lost on a Mountain in Maine, the Don Fendler story, but that's not quite a classic. Hatchet's a damn good book.
Yeah. Easy read. Most people know about it. And also, and another thing that's probably making me keep with Subaru is that every single problem that they had has been well documented, and the forums are amazing. Another thing that we don't talk about is that the community that surrounds almost Honda has their fanboys for particular vehicles, but Subaru, the fandom encompasses the entire line, and probably because you got like 3 engines or something like that. Or now with the World platform, you got the new EJ20, which is the 2-liter.
I believe there's 6 engines on the planet currently, because we only get 3, maybe 4 of them in North America. There's a couple that are Japanese only. They make a 1.6 liter diesel, I think, for Canada. They make a 1.2 liter diesel, or not diesel, but a 1.2 liter turbo for the Kei car or K car, however you pronounce that, for Japan. Yeah, here the next big thing is going to be the engine in the Ascent, which is I think a 2.4 biturbo.
So sequential or
should be twin scroll, so one spools up and stays spooling while the other spools up, and then that one stops while that one's spooling.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be computer controlled.
Okay.
So the goal is that you have, no matter where you put your right foot, you have maximum efficiency. So even if you mat it to the floor because you're driving up a 33-degree hill while you're towing a boat, the car will still give you maximum power, but try to maintain efficiency and not drop down to like 2 miles per gallon.
Okay.
That sounds like something I'd try to make in automation, and somehow there would be like, oh, there's too much knock now, or just
They're trying very, very hard to make sure that the Ascent is perfect, because it's going to have to fight the Pilot, the Highlander. I mean, I've heard some people talk about how it's going to cut into our Outback sales, and I disagree, because Outbacks are still Outbacks. Outbacks is a 5-seat
wagon people
UV. Yeah, they're amazing. It's an SUV capable thing that feels like you're driving a car. The Ascent is a true big ass SUV, and it's amazing. It's got something like 8 USB charge points on it, so everybody can have their own charger. There's an in-car Wi-Fi option. They've got like 19 cup holders hidden throughout the car for 8 people, so everybody can have more than 2 drinks. Because America.
The Outback is a good man is hard to find by Flannery O'Connor. It's just, it seems to be one thing, but it's also this other thing that drives into a culture that is not always seen as ideal. No, but now granted, that's like every, like if you look at Ford culture.
Thank you. 17, for 8 people. That's perfect.
Okay. I have something to do at 4:00. We've got to break all this stuff down. Thank you so much for everybody. We'll hang out here for like a couple more minutes, like 3 more minutes. If you have any last minute questions, we can answer quickly. Before we go, I'm Brian.
I'm Ken.
I'm Nick.
This is the first regular car reviews podcast at Steve Morris Subaru. I'm up for doing this again.
Me too.
Yeah, this is delightful.
This was good.
I think that if we have the opportunity after I speak with management and the owners and see how they think of this and everything, because this really was a grand experiment that they allowed us to do today.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at the analytics afterwards.
Exactly.
And you'll have some numbers for them.
Also, I'd like to say, hopefully Brian will put my contact information and our dealership links and everything into the info. I will be linking
I'll have to do that when I get
all
home.
of his stuff into our social media. So if you find yourself in a Steve Moyer thing, you can also redirect yourself back to regular car reviews.
Yeah. Man, no real questions coming in.
Why don't Subaru make
a WRX with a coupe? Why is WRX coupe? Oh, you want it to be 1998 again?
Hey,
don't we all?
Madden Williams, Google the Visiv. Google the Visiv, Subaru Viziv. Visiv is their concept car line. You'll be able to see what they're working on and there is a 2-door coupe style sports car in there. If you want one, go get a BRZ and then turbocharge it yourself.
You should. Oh man, when we were in New Zealand, it was all like 90s Subarus, and they were all stuff they brought in from Japan.
My people.
And no one cared. I'm seeing those WRX wagons that we never got. And you know how much they cost? $3,000.
Can you import them?
To here?
Yeah.
Well, 25-year rule, not time yet.
Okay, so we have a
They're
little bit more to
98.
wait.
Oh, but they're all down there. No one gives a shit. Freaking and
might never come
freaking
back.
second generation Subaru Forester STI that they freaking made.
Oh my god!
It's an STI driveline.
I know.
And they came right on, and we didn't get them.
Subaru
and we didn't
Subaru
get them.
Australia
And we
did
didn't get them. And we didn't get them. And we didn't get them. And we didn't get them.
And fade out.
Lexus S300 Toyota Soarer review. Yeah, I'll do one of those. I want a Sky, I want a Supra, but I can't, and my mom won't let me.
Build your dream Subaru. What would it be? It would be a 22B built out of 22B parts from the factory.
Subreddit question quick. Which would be worse for a cross-country road trip, at least 1,000 miles? A third-gen Chevy C10 with a straight 6 and a 3 on the tree shifter, or a 1988 Dodge Shadow automatic?
Shadow. Yeah, the shadow will break your hips.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a C10 pickup. They're all right.
Yeah, that's a highway cruiser. You'd be fine with a 3-speed in that.
Yeah. I mean, you might be tacked up high, you might be sucking gas, but those things ride okay and be a little bit crashy. I'm fond of 90s Chrysler, but
hey, for anything under any $6,000 Subaru, just make sure that it has, if it's over 150,000 miles, it's had its timing belt replaced already and the head gasket looked at.
Yeah.
And while they're in there, they can probably do the water pump.
that's it. And Bruce Henn has it down to a science. Like most independent dealerships, even mechanics who are good. I can recommend Justin Kramer up at Catasauqua Auto Repair. He says I can have a Subaru engine out in 45 minutes. And he said if I did Subarus all day long, I wouldn't care because I have it down to a rhythm, like just doing that service.
We've got a army of master
here,
technicians who do that exact thing. The only difference is they go to Subaru for certification on it, and they get basically like doctorates of Subaru after a decade of learning.
You people saying the Accord wagon? Yeah, I love the Accord wagon.
Yeah, that's the
stick
Cross
shift.
Tour now, right? The Honda Cross Tour. It's the Accord platform, but a wagon.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know if they make
Electric
it still.
I don't
but that's
know.
what it was.
And then,
But again, yeah, that thing was 90s, and I can't drive lift.
and then absolute last subreddit question anyway. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like the Buick 3.8 and the Commodores?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I like a? All right, they're okay. It's a 5. It's. I don't think about that engine, and that was kind of the point of a 3.8.
Yeah.
It was your meat and potatoes V6. It doesn't make a good sound. It's an engine you ignore, and that's kind of it. It's a stopgap between whatever 4-cylinder they had, and at that time in the mid 90s, before the LS came out, they were still running the 350 small block in stuff. It was a stopgap engine. It had its day in the 80s, and it's continuing into the late 90s. No one cares.
Yeah. Sharp.
I mean, it's fine. It's okay. It's an engine. Whatever.
Sharpest possible left turn from the Century V12.
You can do better.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching this. We're going to break this down. Thanks once again to Ken. Last name?
Veet.
Ken Veet, marketing at Steve Morris Subaru. And also thank you very much to people at Steve Morris Subaru for letting us broadcast here. Hopefully we'll see more of this. Have a good day. Have a good day, guys. See you later. Bye.